Self-Knowledge by Adi Shankaracharya, authored by Roy Eugene Davis. The changeless essence of the One Reality. 41. The Supreme Reality is pure existence bliss. Self-signing, it does not have such distinctions as knower, knowledge, and object of knowledge. The transcendent aspect of the One Reality is outside of space-time realms, yet it is their source and support. Being pure, it is devoid of attributes. Although it cannot be conceptualized, it can be directly experienced and fully known as it is, because our essence of being is an individualized unit of it. How innate knowledge can be allowed to emerge. 42. By constant right meditation, the flame of self-knowledge is aroused, which completely removes ignorance. Frequent, regular, superconscious meditation unveils and brings forth innate knowledge of our true nature. Many people who aspire to be self-realized do not endeavor to live effectively, profoundly examine higher realities, or meditate superconsciously on a regular schedule, even when they know they should. They allow their attention to aimlessly wander and let emotions and debilitating habits determine their modes of thinking and behavior. Swami Sri Yukteswar sometimes reminded disciples of the importance of regular superconscious meditation by chanting these words: "Wake, now wake, O my saint. Wake, now wake, O my saint. You did not meditate. You did not concentrate. You wasted time in idle talk. Wake, now awake, O my saint. Death may be at your door. You may not have time anymore to redeem your soul." How our nature is self-revealed. 43. As the brilliant sun is seen when darkness recedes at dawn, so pure consciousness is revealed when ignorance is banished by knowledge. According to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Kriya Yoga is practiced to remove all obstacles to Samadhi. When conditions that blur our powers of perception and confine our awareness are absent, innate knowledge of our real nature is effortlessly self-revealed. A preliminary state of Samadhi experienced when attention is absorbed in an object of meditative contemplation, such as light, sound, joy, has the support of that object of perception. Transcendent Samadhi does not have an object of perception. Samadhi with an object of perception does not bring forth innate knowledge. Transcendent Samadhi is pure realization of one's essence. Both kinds of Samadhi may first be of short duration because subliminal influences may stimulate thoughts and emotions and distract attention. By repeated practice of both kinds of Samadhi, proficiency can be acquired. Since transcendent Samadhi is devoid of thoughts, it is not maintained when one is thinking or otherwise active. Complete self-realization allows one to be self-knowing when thinking and acting. People whose minds are influenced by inertia are, though hypnotized, inclined to believe that having a continuing series of problems and limiting circumstances is normal. They are unable to imagine the freedom they could have if they are willing to learn how to accept it. Meditation practice results in divine perceptions which emerge from the essence of one's being. Self-realization is the self-revelation of our true nature which illumines our mind and consciousness. Lahiri Mahasaya. Kriya Pranayama unveils the reality of the self. Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Seeing the truth where it is. 44. Though the self is always a present reality, because of ignorance it is not known. When ignorance is removed, the self is realized. It is like a person with an ornament around his neck, who looks elsewhere for it. A man who desired to be rich devoted many years searching for a precious gemstone that he could sell for a large amount of money. In his old age, he discovered that the gemstone on the necklace he wore, given to him by a close relative when he was a child, was very valuable. For many decades, he had been so outwardly focused that he had not thought about having the ornament on his necklace examined by a jeweler. In a similar manner, many people search outwardly in vain for that which has always been with them. The immediate way to be self-realized. 45. The one reality appears to be a soul because one's true nature is not known. The illusional sense of self-identity disappears when the real nature of the soul is realized. A soul is a pure consciousness unit of one reality confined by a mistaken sense of self-identity. When the error in perception is corrected, the truth seeker's consciousness is immediately restored to its original pure wholeness. What restores our consciousness to wholeness? 46. Knowledge that emerges with realization of the true nature of reality immediately banishes mistaken ideas that arise when one is egocentric, as the sun's light enables one to move freely while on a journey. Knowledge of what is realized emerges along with realization. If a person who believes himself to be self-realized does not yet have accurate knowledge of his true nature and his relationship with the infinite, he is not self-realized. How a spiritually enlightened person views the world. 47. The yogi who is completely enlightened sees with the eye of knowledge the universe in the self and regards everything as the self and nothing else. According to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, liberation is realized when the attributes or the three gunas of nature, having been restored to their primary status, are no longer influential and the self is established in its own essence. Liberation is then complete. The self abides in pure consciousness. Only one reality is known. The universe and its processes are seen as products of its self-referring actions. Why only one reality exists? 48. Because a universe emanates from the radiant field of one reality. Nothing exists that is other than it. As clay pots and jars are actually clay, to those who are enlightened, all that is perceived is one reality. Note by the author. Repeating key themes of a dissertation is done to keep the reader's attention focused on them until they are firmly impressed in the mind or meaningful insights emerge. Liberation of consciousness. 49. A free soul with self-knowledge, discarding all restrictions, realizes pure, conscious, blissful existence. 50. A free soul, having crossed the ocean of delusion, devoid of attachments and aversions, peacefully abides in the bliss of permanent self-realization. 51. Renouncing attachments to illusory external happiness, the self-abiding free soul, satisfied with the bliss of the self, shines inwardly. When all mental impressions of karma are dissolved and erroneous ideas, attachments, and aversions have been renounced, self-realization is permanent. Freedom from all limitations. 52. Though associated with various restricting influences, one whose self-knowledge is firmly established, is undefiled by their traits, is calm, even-minded, and moves about unattached like the wind. 53. When all restrictions are dissolved or transcended, one is completely absorbed in the all-pervading reality, like water in water, space in space, and light in light. With the emergence of self-knowledge, karmic conditions cease to be influential. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Absolute self-realization. 54. No complete realization of the one reality to be that which leaves nothing more to be realized, the blessedness of which leaves no other bliss to be desired, the knowledge of which leaves nothing more to be known. Paramahansa Yogananda told a disciple that for as long as a person was within the field of space-time, the possibilities of having perceptions and experiences were endless. When he was asked if such possibilities would ever cease to exist, he replied, "Yes, when you realize your own endlessness." Absolute liberation of consciousness. 55. Know that to be the ultimate reality which, when seen, leaves nothing more to be seen, which, when realized, one is not again born into the world of becoming. From the field of primordial nature to the physical realm, the three constituent attributes that pervade them regulate cosmic forces that produce changes and transformations. The emergence of self-knowledge enables us to dispassionately observe processes that occur without being unduly influenced by them. One reality endures. 56. Know that to be supreme reality, which is pure existence, knowledge, bliss, infinite and eternal. 57. Know that to be supreme reality, which is indivisible, the unchanging substratum which remains when all sense-perceived objects have been negated. Realization is in accord with our capacity to experience it. 58. The gods experience only a minute portion of the limitless bliss of self-realization and enjoy in their proportion their shares of that minute proportion. The term gods is used for souls in physical, astral or causal realms which, because they are not yet fully self-realized, do not have the capacity to experience the pure joyousness that will constantly be experienced when they are liberated. Souls may not be self-realized because of lack of aspiration to be fully awake, attachment to false beliefs, identification with modified states of mind and consciousness, inability or reluctance to transcend their mistaken sense of self-identity, attachment to pleasurable meditative perceptions, or to their present stage of spiritual growth. In 1950, I asked Paramhansa Yogananda How many of the saints that you wrote about in Autobiography of a Yogi are now liberated? He said, not many. Many saints are satisfied to experience the bliss of God communion and don't aspire to liberation of consciousness. He then emphatically said, you must go all the way. Remembering his words, I often remind my disciples and people who attend my lectures and seminars of the importance of their constant aspiration to be self-realized in their current incarnation. I also advise them not to be satisfied with fleeting insights or pleasant feelings when they meditate. That which is to be acknowledged and realized. 59. All things are pervaded by the Supreme Reality. All actions are possible because of it. 60. Realize that to be the Supreme Reality, which is neither subtle nor gross, short nor long, without birth or change, without form or characteristics. 61. Realize that to be the Supreme Reality, by the light of which orbs like suns and moons are illumined, but which cannot be illumined by their light, and by which everything is illumined. Our planet is approximately 93 million miles distant from the Sun, an incandescent ball of gases with an interior temperature of about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. Suns or stars are said to be illumined by the one reality because its emanated element influences which produce the gross elements of suns radiate energy when heated to a high temperature. Light from suns illumines planets and moons. As the mighty flowing wind moving everywhere abides in space, so all beings ever abide in me. Reflect on this. Bhagavad Gita. One reality only exists. 62. The Supreme Reality pervades the entire universe inward and outward and is self-shining. Like fire that permeates a hot ball of iron inwardly and outwardly and shines itself. 63. That Supreme Reality alone exists. If anything else is said to exist, it is because of one's mistaken perception of it. 64. All that is seen or heard is that Supreme Reality. Having realized that reality, one sees the universe as existence, knowledge, bliss. 65. Though that reality is everywhere, it is perceived by the eye of wisdom alone. One whose perceptions are obscured does not see the radiant self, as a blind person does not see the resplendent sun. Few people know that the reality of God extends fully to this material realm. Mahavatar Babaji. How the truth can be known. 66. The self, free from impurities, removed by hearing the truth and by realization, shines like polished gold. Hearing the truth may bring forth innate knowledge and inspire us to more carefully examine it. A self-realized person is detached from conditions which blur and fragment the consciousness of people whose powers of perception are not yet highly developed. Delusions, erroneous beliefs, may be acquired from others or may arise in the mind when thinking is irrational or powers of discriminative intelligence are not highly developed. Illusions are misperceptions of what is observed. Delusions and illusions are absent when self-knowing is constant. Unwavering, intuitive self-knowledge removes all delusions and illusions. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Self-revelation that liberates. 67. That reality which is the sun of knowledge arises in the firmament of one's essence of being and banishes darkness. The pervader and sustainer of all, it illumines all and itself. Spiritual enlightenment is not a personal accomplishment. It is the result of spontaneous self-revelations which emerge when our mind is pure and consciousness is clear. The finite mind generates countless ideas within itself which weaken it and veil perceptions of truth. These create impressions and tendencies in the mind, most of which are latent or dormant. When the mind is rid of them, the veil vanishes in a moment like mist at sunrise, and with it the greatest of sorrows also vanish. Yoga Vasistha. 68. One who, renouncing all actions, worships in the sacred, stainless shrine of the Supreme Self, which is omnipresent, banishes all sense of difference and bestows eternal happiness, realizes omniscience, omnipresence, and immortality. To renounce all actions is to discard all egocentric endeavors, surrender to our innate urge to be self-realized, and meditate in the one, omnipresent reality until our attention and awareness are completely absorbed by it. This is the direct way to realize the truth which permanently liberates consciousness. Addendum. The fundamental propositions of the philosophy of non-dualism. Only one reality exists. Its transcendent aspect is absolute existence being. Its radiant field has three constituent attributes which influences its emanated cosmic forces that produce objective phenomena. Units of pure consciousness are produced by interactions between the radiant field and its emanated vibration or Om. Units which identify with objective phenomena to the extent that they become oblivious of their real nature are inclined to view themselves as independent beings. The primary cause of confusion, misfortune, and suffering is absence of accurate knowledge of one's true nature and of ultimate reality. Self-realization or experience with accurate knowledge of one's essence immediately restores units of pure consciousness to their original self-knowing state. Self-realization can be actualized by learning about higher realities, insightfully examining them, and adopting mental attitudes and personal behaviors that clarify awareness and allow the difference between one's true nature and ordinary or modified states of mind and consciousness to be known. Practices or actions that can contribute to psychological transformation and clarification of awareness include disciplined thinking, profound systematic study of higher realities, superconscious meditation, and discarding or rising above one's mistaken sense of self-identity. The culmination of right inquiry is permanent liberation of consciousness, complete freedom from all conditions which formerly confined and limited the self. In the first verse, Shankara emphasized that he wrote, self-knowledge for those whose minds had been purified by disciplined living, were inwardly peaceful and overcome or renounced egocentric desires, and fervently aspired to liberation. Sustained aspiration to be spiritually enlightened, supported by your right endeavors, will enable you to quickly awaken through the stages of spiritual growth, from ordinary states of consciousness to superconsciousness and permanent self-realization. Your mind will be purified and your consciousness will be liberated in your current reincarnation. Have that as your highest aim and it will definitely be realized. Affirm with conviction, the self-shining radiance of my pure essence of being continuously illumines my mind and consciousness.